June the 2nd, 2015.
What was that?
It's now been nearly 10 years since the fateful events of that day, and so today we're taking a deep dive into an event that shook the theme park industry to its core, the Smiler crash at Alton Towers. A day that changed the lives of many and left a scar on one of the UK's most beloved theme parks.
In the last hour, two carriages on a ride at Alton Towers have collided.
On that fateful day, two young women, a 19-year-old Vicky Balch and a 17-year-old Leah Washington, each tragically lost a leg, whilst 14 others on board suffered various injuries. It was one of the darkest days in modern theme park history. But how exactly did the Smiler crash happen? If you've only heard the mainstream media's version of events, chances are you've heard the wrong story. So we'll take a look today and we'll set the record straight. Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2015 started off as a fairly normal day at Alton Towers. The park itself was at half capacity, which is surprisingly busy for a standard weekday during term time. Thrill seekers had flocked to the Smiler, which had opened just 2 years earlier in May 2013 and was still to the day one of the park's headline attractions. Operations were under pressure to add an additional train to the Smiler, which had been operating 4 trains during the morning. However, long queues had been forming and peaked at nearly an hour and a half, and the operations team wanted a 5th train added in order to get through as many riders as possible. This would be a critical issue that would come back to haunt them. A second issue presenting itself during the day was that wind speeds were dangerously high, with gusts reaching up to 46 miles per hour, well above the 34 mile per hour limit set by the ride's manufacturer, Gerstlauer. But despite the manufacturer's recommendations, the ride continued to operate without issues all morning. This was all about to change. At around 1 PM, the Smiler experienced technical difficulties and was shut down for maintenance. This wasn't particularly worrying and is standard practice whilst any fault is investigated and fixed. However, whilst the ride maintenance team worked on fixing the fault, the operations team made a crucial decision. They added a 5th train to the track to help clear the long queues that had formed. This decision in itself is fine, as the Smiler can safely operate 5 trains. But a critical error was made. The operations team who added the 5th train did not inform the maintenance staff about the addition of this extra train. At 1:40 PM the engineers had identified and resolved the fault, and the Smiler reopened to guests. As per standard procedure, an empty train was sent around the track for a test cycle. This is where a second critical mistake was made. Despite the high winds being experienced all morning, the train was sent empty and without water dummies, which helps simulate the weight of actual riders and keep the train moving at proper speeds. Due to the heavy winds being experienced and the weight of the train being lighter without the dummies, the train failed to complete the circuit and stalled at the bottom of one of the track elements, coming to a complete stop. Whilst this was unfolding, another train was loaded with passengers and dispatched. The Smiler at this point worked perfectly, as it should, and it brought the train full of passengers to a complete stop at the top of the first lift hill. The Smiler had been fitted with block brakes, where each section of the track has brakes that will not allow a train to go ahead into the next section of the track if that next section is already occupied. Sensing that the track ahead of it was not clear, the Smiler froze the train of passengers to avoid a potential collision. And this is where disaster struck. Maintenance staff, still on site, checked the ride manually. They saw 3 trains waiting in the station and a 4th train stuck on the lift hill. And because no one had told them about the 5th train being added, they assumed the sensor readings were just a ghost train error. A known but rare technical glitch. Identifying the location of the 4 trains they thought were on the track and believing it was safe, they overrode the block system and sent a loaded train back out into the circuit. Fate was now sealed. The train navigated the track layout until it slammed directly into the stalled empty train. The impact was catastrophic.
What was that?
Alton Towers would later be fined £5 million for the crash. 4 riders in the front row suffered severe leg injuries, and a 49-year-old woman had to be airlifted to hospital due to serious internal injuries too. Who was to blame? Honestly, it wasn't just one person. The Health and Safety Executive launched a criminal investigation. They found that both the operations team and the maintenance staff had failed to follow proper safety protocols. The external investigation suggested that 25% of the blame fell on the operations team, 25% onto the maintenance crew, and 50% directly onto Alton Towers itself for systemic failures in training and communication. Now, you might be wondering, should you still be scared of riding the Smiler today? The simple answer is no. Since the crash, extensive safety measures have been put into place. This includes more CCTV coverage for better visibility across the track. Safety training for all staff was completely overhauled. It's now impossible for anyone but a senior engineer to override the block brake system, and wind sensors have been upgraded, and if gusts exceed the 34 miles per hour recommended by the ride manufacturer, the ride will automatically shut down. In short, an accident like the 2015 Smiler crash cannot happen again. The entire theme park industry learned valuable lessons from this tragedy, and rides across the globe are safer because of it today. Thank you for watching today's video. If you found this video interesting, please make sure you like, comment and subscribe for more theme park history, investigations, behind the scenes looks and vlogs of our experiences within the theme park world. I'll see you next time, stay safe and enjoy the ride.
Ride with Judventures, you know the name. Theme parks and attractions and kick-ass days. You got the big bearded husband, a beautiful blonde wife, and a cool young lad just living their best life. I'm the guy with the camera, beer game strong. Catch me in a scare maze, come scream along. News and reviews, I'm dropping the facts. Ride POVs and honest reacts. So follow the journey from scare to scream. Judventures, baby, let's live the dream.